the great book which is God's Demons and Others by R.K. Narayanan. So he's one of the greatest storytellers India has ever had. And जरूर book खरीदेगा. And this story is about Ravan. God himself participates in the actions of these stories. He incarcerates himself much to destroy the demon Ravan as to inspire Valmiki, the composer of Ramayana, and to help the heroine Draupadi fulfill her lifelong mission of annihilating her husband's lie, tormentors, and mad. Now, Ravan. Ravan means scream, and this Rakshas earned the name by screaming. Ah! The name carried to him when he attempted to move Mount Kailash. So he attempted to move Mount Kailash, this thing, where Shiv was consorting with his wife. Shiv answered this masterly impudence by steadying the swaying mountain and pressing it with his toe, so that the Ravan was caught under it and shouted for his life, recognizing after all a superior force in Shiva. Ravan's advisor suggested he should pray for relief, and Ravan prayed intensely to a tune called Sama, which is the origin of all musical sound. Shiv, greatly pleased, appeared before him to confer a boon. Ravan.
कल कौन सी पढ़ी थी?
अम्मा कल की तो खत्म हो गई माँ. Harishchandra. Shiv, greatly pleased, appeared before him to confer a boon and named at the moment Ravan. To understand why Ravan thought of dislodging Kailasha mountain from its foundations, we must go a little further back in his life story. His original name was not Ravan but Dashagriva, meaning 10 heads. At birth, he had 10 heads and 20 arms. When he was born, wolves howled, and shrieking noise filled the air, portents of evil. When he was born, wolves howled, and shrieking noise filled the air, portents of evil. His mother, Kekasi, knew when he was still in her womb that he would be a demon. She was the daughter of a demon chief called Somali, had enticed a saintly man of great beauty, radiance, and spiritual powers while he was at meditation. The saint warned her, this is an unholy hour of dusk for union, and the issue coming out of this union is bound to be monstrous. She begged for some consideration, said, if several are born, at least one shall be virtuous. हाँ मामा, सोमाली की. उसने बोला था सेज ने कि भाई ये जो एक राक्षस होगा इस समय. तो she begged for some consideration and said, if several are born, at least one shall be virtuous. Out of this parentage came forth first Dasagriva, later known as Ravan, then Kunkaran, a daughter Super Khan, and lastly Vibhishan. At the birth of each one of them, except the last, wolves howled, and the skies darkened. Kuber, the distinguished ruler and son of the saint by a previous wife, was a stepbrother. Once when he came to see his father, Kekasi, the mother of the monster, said to Ravan and the rest, here comes his brother, salute him. तुम्हारा भाई आ गया, उसको salute करो. Half in jealousy and half in admiration. And the stepbrothers went up to him reverently. Thereafter, as they grew up, they constantly heard praise of this brother and demanded, how is it that he has acquired so much of distinction? इतना पैसा कहाँ से आया, डिस्टिंक्शन कहाँ से आया, रावण पूछे.
अब शुरू में कुबेर ने प्यार से बात की.
हाँ, because of his tapas, said his father.
Because
of his tapas, उसने तपस्या की है, कुबेर ने. At once the brothers went into seclusion. अच्छा तो हम भी करेंगे. At once the brothers went into seclusion on a river bank in order that they might also acquire the strength and merit through proper penance. Each sat in tapas for 1,000 years. Ravan nipped off one of his 10 heads to mark every 1,000 years of penance.
1,000 years get unit for it.
When he thus sacrificed 9 heads and was left with only one, Brahma the creator appeared and said,
when he sacrificed?
जब उसने अपने बाकी सब सिरों को काट दिया था तो एक ही बचा था. Appeared and said, I admire you for your tenacious penance. What is your aim and desire? I want immortality. मुझे immortality चाहिए. Impossible, said Brahma. Whoever is born must die someday, and that's the law of the world. Grant me then the boon of indestructibility, that no god, celestial being, element, or any power on earth or in the heavens shall overcome me. Granted, said Brahma. No power in any world shall defeat you. What of humans? Worms, declared Ravan.
No power.
मत कोई भी सेलेस्टियल बीइंग जो उसको हरा ना सके, दशग्रीव ने कहा ब्रह्मा से कि देखो मुझे कोई भी ना हरा सके। तो ब्रह्मा ने पूछा अच्छा इंसानों की क्या बात? तो इंसान इंसान तो कुछ भी नहीं है। Worms, declared Ravan, these pitiful, contemptible creatures, I don't have to perform a tapas for protection from them. So be it, said Brahma. And every time one of my heads is severed, it must return to my shoulders. So be it. एक सर अगर कट के आता तो मेरे शोल्डर पे वापस आए। Kumkaran was about to phrase his demand when Brahma got help from his spouse Saraswati, the goddess of learning and self-expression. She affected the dumb monk's tongue, so that whatever he might have intended to ask for, he only succeeded in saying, I want to sleep uninterruptedly.
सरस्वती ने कहा
This was granted immediately, so that instead of becoming a public menace, Kumbhakaran slept for long stretches of time, and humanity did not have to blame Brahma for creating yet another danger for it. When Brahma asked Vibhishan to name his desire, he said, May I have the strength never to swerve from the righteous, even under the most trying circumstances. A strange man in this family. Now, strengthened by few fruitful penances, the brothers returned to the world of action and wanting to test their powers and indestructibility promised to Ravan. Ravan's grandfather visited him and advised, Why don't you attack Lanka and take it back? Lanka को attack करके अपना वापस ले लो. After all, it's our country unfairly handed to Kuber. Kuber को ऐसे ही दे दिया उन्होंने. Kuber is my elder brother. I'll not act against him. Kuber,
रावण ने कहा
said Ravan. But Marich's uncle argued with him as did his grandfather. They explained, You are a warrior, and the exercise of a warrior, valor is your proper prerogative. तुम्हारा कर्म है तुम्हें लड़ने का. What are your guess worth if you are not going to use them? After all, Kuber is only a half brother. A half brother is no brother at all. Half brother कोई भाई थोड़ी होता है. Even if he were a brother, what of it? If he is so close to you, let him give it way to you. As they pursued this line of argument, Ravan saw the light. In pursuit of fame and conquest, considerations of right and wrong did not arise. सही गलत क्या है वो तो अब कुछ नहीं, क्योंकि नाम चाहिए था, शौहरत चाहिए थी. Ravan mustered an army to march onto Lanka. Kuber received an ultimatum and he submitted to avoid bloodshed. कुबेर को अल्टीमेटम मिला, उसको भाई ने सबमिट कर दिया, खून खराबा ना हो. He met Ravan at the border and handed over the city to him and took himself off to Alkapuri in the Himalayan region. और वो चला गया हिमालयन रीजन में अलकापुरी. ठीक है ना. Placing himself out of his brother's reach many thousands of miles away at the northern extremity. Thus, all this great space between did not prevent the news of his brother's activities from reaching him. मतलब कुबेर गया और उसने अलकापुरी में अपना साम्राज्य बताया. After establishing himself securely, Ravan never allowed anyone of possibly equal status to survive around him. He delighted in tormenting other kings. Delighted in tormenting other kings. It was not only physical or material qualities in others that roused his ire. He disliked even those who strove to attain spiritual qualities or pursued learning or religion. It was safest not to come under his notice. रावण में देख न लेना बहुत खराब आदमी है. No category of creatures could cope to escape his attention. He tormented those whom he did not exterminate. जिसको खत्म नहीं करता था उनको परेशान करता था. जो ज्ञान पाना चाहें, धन पाना चाहें, सबको परेशान करता था. Kuber sent an emissary to Ravan's court advising him to leave everyone alone. सबको अकेला छोड़ दो. Ravan's immediate reaction was to reach for his sword and chop off the emissary's head. जो emissary आया था कुबेरों की तरफ से उसका सर काट दिया.
सिर काट दिया.
His courtiers in the assembly enjoyed it as a joke.
क्या हिंदी में फिर बोलो.
मतलब ये हुआ कि कुबेर ने भेजा आदमी को, कहा कि देखो रावण, तुम दूसरों को परेशान करना बंद करो, जरूरत नहीं है.
हाँ.
रावण ने अपनी तलवार ली और उस एमिसरी का सर काट दिया. तो जो वहाँ पे लोग बैठे हुए थे उन सबको मजा आ गया.
और मजा आया.
हाँ. But this did not lessen Kuber's zest to improve his brother and wean him from evil. He continued to send his messages of advice. Only normal thing that Ravan did at this time was to marry. एक ही normal चीज की उसने शादी की. When he was out in the forest one day hunting, he met a girl and her aged father trudging along the forest path and stopped to ask her, "Who are you and why are you here?" The man replied, "My name is Maya. I'm an architect. मैं माया हूँ, मेरा आर्किटेक्ट हूँ. This is my daughter Mandodari." आर्किटेक्ट की डॉटर थी मंदोदरी. Her mother was a celestial creature. She lived with me until this child was born. And then she deserted me and went back to her old world. Since then, I have been unhappiest creature on the earth. I have brought up this child. You know the anxiety of a man who has a daughter to marry. Help me find a bridegroom for this child. Raman performed the single commendable act of his life by saying, "I will marry this girl." मैं इस लड़की से शादी कर लूँगा. It turned out to be the happiest marriage known. For although Ravan's nature would not let him leave women alone, he proved a good husband, and Mandodari, known for her beauty, also came to be classed amongst the 5 perfect women in God's creation. मंदोदरी एक परफेक्ट औरत थी. ठीक है ना. माया की लड़की थी, उसकी माँ उसको पैदा करके चली गई थी. तो फिर रावण आया. रावण ने क्या किया, तो वो बोला कि भाई ठीक है, मुझे अपनी बेटी की शादी करानी है माया से. रावण ने कहा मैं शादी कर लूँगा, और दोनों में बड़ी अच्छी शादी चली. Ravan suddenly realized that his brother was acting as an irritant and decided to put an end to this intolerable situation. भाई का प्रॉब्लम इरिटेट कर रहा है. Intolerable situation. He undertook an expedition to the far off Himalayas. उसने कहा हिमालयाज की तरफ चलते हैं. No country was too far off to him. When he set his mind to attack it, he marched to Alkapuri, sacked it, and vanquished his brother, whose only fault that he had presumed to advise him. उसके भाई ने उसको एडवाइस दिया था. फिर से हरा दिया रावण ने. अलकापुरी गया, लूट लिया और भाई को सजा दी. Finally, he seized his prized possession, the Pushpak, a flying chariot which could take one along the skies wherever one liked and also grant all wishes. और रावण ने वहां से पुष्पक विमान चुरा लिया अलकापुरी से. जहां पे भी आदमी जाना चाहे वहां पे जा सकता था. Well, flying back to his capital in Lanka or Ceylon, Ravan found a mountain peak obstructing his package. वो उड़ रहा था तो उसने देखा एक mountain peak बीच में आई. He felt irritated and got out of his chariot muttering, "How dare this miserable mountain attempting get in my way?" And putting his shoulder to the base of the mountain, attempted to lift it off. The mountain shook and Shiva's spouse Parvati was frightened. कैलाश पर्वत बीच में आया था. रावण ने कहा, ये कैलाश पर्वत मेरे रास्ते में क्या आ रहा है. तो रावण को गुस्सा आया. उसने कहा इसको हटा दूंगा. उसने उस पर्वत को उठाया और उस पर जो थी पार्वती बैठी हुई थी. ठीक है ना. All the gods attendants feared a cataclysm was uprooting him. Shiva's personal guard and aide Nandi went down to see what the matter was and saw Ravan and ordered him to go away. तो नंदी ऊपर से आए. उन्होंने रावण को देखा तो नंदी ने कहा रावण से तुम जाओ भाई. Ravan paused, wiping the perspiration from his bow, looking at his visor and laughed contemptuously. रावण ने हंसी की, हंसी से जवाब दिया, है ना. और देखा कि भैया ठीक है, क्या कर सकते हो तुम? Why do you laugh? Asked Nandi, and Ravan answered, You monkey, how dare you? तो नंदी ने जवाब रावण ने नंदी से कहा कि नंदी ने रावण से कहा तुम हंस क्यों रहे थे? तो रावण ने नहीं, अरे बंदर तुम मेरी क्या मजाक उड़ा सकते हो? Nandi was put out, he resented being called a monkey. He was deformed, dwarfish, brown and black in color with the head of a bull, anything, but not a monkey. नंदी डिफॉर्म डॉफिश था, उसका हेड ऑफ अ बुल था, पर बंदर नहीं था, बंदर नहीं था. And so he cursed Ravan, your end will come through a monkey, the thought of which titillates you now. The monkey will give you food for thought. तुम्हारा अंत एक बंदर से ही आएगा, नंदी बोला. क्योंकि तुम अभी बंदर के बारे में सोच रहे थे, तो बंदर से ही आएगा. Proceeding from Kailash, Ravan attacked every kingdom that he noticed in his flight. He would poise himself on the border and send an ultimatum to the ruler to yield. If he resisted, he destroyed him. If he yielded, he mutilated and enslaved him. अगर वो रेसिस्ट करता था तो रूलर ख़त्म कर देता, और अगर एक्सेप्ट कर ले तो एनस्लेव करके म्यूटिलेट कर देता था. He added several kings to his band of slaves. सबको स्लेव बना लिया उसने. He also ravished their women. In one of his wanderings, he encountered in the zone of Himalayan foothills a beauty named Vedavati, the daughter of a sage. Ravan made advances to her. She recoiled from his touch and explained, I can marry no mortal. I am under a vow to marry only God, the great and only God Vishnu. I am betrothed to him. रावण ने कहा मैं तुमसे शादी करना चाहता हूँ वेदवती से. वेदवती बोली मैं केवल विष्णु भगवान से शादी करूंगी. रावण का सिर चटक गया. Ravan sneered at this explanation. You foolish one, don't you know I am superior to God Vishnu? अरे कहाँ विष्णु, मैं तो विष्णु से आगे हूँ, रावण बोला. And he seized her by the hair and dragged her into his arms. She freed herself by cutting off her hair and pumped into the sacrificial fire that her father had lit. उसके पिता ने आग लगाई थी, तो वेदवती ने रावण को छोड़ा और आग में कूद गई, saying, Only fire can cleanse me of the pollution of its touch. Before giving up her life, she cursed him. I'll be the sole cause of her destruction in my next birth. अगले जन्म में मेरे ही कारण तुम मरोगे. सीता जी पैदा हुई. चलो मैं कल पढ़े. Ravan had acquired in his career 3 cardinal curses which caused his downfall at the end. Nandi had given him an inkling of the agent of destruction Hanuman, the monkey-faced god. Vedvati was reborn as Sita, the wife of Rama, an incarnation of Vishnu in order to destroy Ravan. And Ram's cutting himself was foreseen by one Aranyak, the king of Ayodhya. अरण्यक एक राजा थे अयोध्या के, उन्होंने बताया कि एक रावण आएगा. Who was attacked and tormented by Rama on one of his excursions, and who cursed Ravan that he would be destroyed by a member of his own Ishwaku clan. मेरे वंशज अरण्यक ने बोला तुम्हें डिस्ट्रॉय करेंगे. Not satisfied with his conquest on earth, Rama lusted for other victories. When sage Narad, the traveler in all the worlds, arrived and said, Why don't you attack Yam in his own world? He considers himself invincible. The idea appealed to Ravan, and Narad felt there was a possible way in which this mighty demon can be put into. Ravan made an expedition to the world of Yam, the god of death, was repulsed by him, and was about to be struck with a staff called Yamdand. The very sight of it is said to spell doom for the beholder. But at this moment, Brahma reminded Yam that he had conferred the boon of indestructibility on Ravan. And Yam, out of consideration for this promise, simply vanished from the spot, leaving Ravan to imagine he had vanquished him. अब बस करें, कल करें.